Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. We're looking at Luke chapter 4, and we're reading where Jesus gave his first recorded message in the Gospel of Luke. Now remember, Luke is presenting Jesus as the perfect Son of Man. Yes, at the same time, he's testifying to the fact that he is the very Son of God. He is God in the flesh. And as we read this passage here in front of us, Jesus in the synagogue there in his hometown of Nazareth reads from Isaiah chapter 61. And he reads that great passage where the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He's anointed me. He sent me to bring deliverance to the captives, to set the captives free, to heal the brokenhearted, and gives that powerful passage. And then he stops before he gets to the verse where it says, and to bring vengeance upon his enemies. And he doesn't read that. And so I'm sure rabbi and other teachers there and the people probably caught that because they were looking for the Messiah to come and bring down vengeance on the terrible Gentiles who had them under their thumb. And so as he begins to speak, though, he says in verse 21, today this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing. And they all bore witness of him and marveled at the gracious words that proceeded from his mouth. But instead of believing that he's the Son of God at that point, they say, isn't this Joseph's son? How is this possible? You can just imagine what's going through their minds. In verse 23, he said to them, you will surely say this proverb to me, physician, heal yourself. Whatever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in your country. And so I'm thinking Jesus knows what they're thinking. And he says, I know you're wanting me to do a miracle here. But instead of giving them a miracle, he gives them a lecture. Then he said, assuredly, I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you truly, many widows were in Israel in the day of Elijah when the heaven was shut up for 3 years and 6 months, and there was a great famine throughout all the land. But to none of them was Elijah sent except to Zarephath in the region of Sidon, to a woman who was a widow. And then he tells another story from the Old Testament, goes forward a few years, and many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elisha the prophet, and none of them were cleansed except Naaman the Syrian. So all those in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath. Now, what just turned their admiration into antagonism? They were upset. Why? Because instead of Jesus bringing them a message of deliverance and putting down the enemies, he tells them of God's grace to the Gentiles in those days. No one else got healed of leprosy in Israel, but here a Naaman, a Gentile, did. A widow lady in a Gentile region, she is the one that received food during the time of the 3.5-year famine. He spoke of grace. They wanted a Messiah to bring the wrath of God upon their enemies. Now, when that happened, they were filled with wrath. And notice what they did. They thrust him out of the city. They took him to the brow of the hill which on their city was built, that they might throw him down over the cliff. They intended to kill him. Jesus, the son of Joseph, the Nazareth of Nazareth, there he had grew up in this place. But notice what happens. Then passing through the midst of them, he went his way. Boy, what a miracle. Now, I've been on that hill right outside Nazareth many times. Matter of fact, it's one of my favorite places to go. I don't have time to talk about it when we go to Israel, but Jesus, I can just picture them getting ready to throw him off the hill, and he disappears. He walks right out of the midst of them. How he did it, what he did, how I don't know. Now here's what we need to learn from this. The message of Jesus Christ is for everyone. It's a message of grace. The day of grace has dawned upon the nation, upon the people of the world, and the Gentiles. Jesus came that all men might be saved. And my friend, he wants you to be saved. And he has a message of grace for you today, even in this time of trial and tribulation in our world. Well, God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.